Let's talk about something that's happening inside the walls of your home right now, a hidden force called voltage drop. It's one of those fundamental concepts in electricity that can seem a little tricky, but honestly, getting a handle on it is absolutely key to building any electrical system that's both safe and efficient.
You've probably seen this before, right? You're out in the garage, you flip the switch on a big table saw, and for just a split second, the lights dip. Or maybe you notice it when the AC unit kicks on in the summer. Well, that's not some random electrical ghost in the machine. That is voltage drop live and in action. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain on exactly what's going on.
So, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with what voltage drop actually is, then we'll get into why you should even care about it. We'll break down all the things that affect it, show you how to calculate it, and then we'll walk through a real-world example to put it all together.
All right, first things first. What exactly is this thing we're calling voltage drop? Let's get right down to the basic definition.
Okay, in the simplest terms, think of it this way. As electricity travels down a wire, the wire itself kind of pushes back. It puts up a bit of a fight. That fight is called resistance, and it causes some of the electrical pressure, which is our voltage, to get used up along the journey. So the voltage you get at the end of the wire is always going to be a little less than what you started with back at the panel.
The best way to visualize this is with a garden hose, right? You turn on the spigot, and the pressure right there is super strong. But if you have a really long and skinny hose, by the time the water gets to the nozzle at the other end, it's noticeably weaker. It just doesn't have the same oomph. Electricity in a wire is the exact same principle. The wire is the hose, and the voltage is your water pressure.
So, okay, we lose a little voltage along the way. Big deal, right? Well, it turns out it is a very big deal. Managing this drop isn't just about getting peak performance, it's a critical part of safety and efficiency.
In fact, it's so important that the National Electrical Code, the NEC, has some pretty firm rules about it. For a single branch circuit, like the one feeding the outlets in a room, they recommend you lose no more than 3% of your voltage.
And if you look at the whole system together, from where the power comes in, through the main feeder wires, all the way to the end of that branch circuit, the total allowable drop should be no more than 5%. And trust me, these numbers aren't just suggestions, they're the benchmark for a healthy, safe electrical system. Staying inside these limits is just crucial. For one, it makes sure your power tools and appliances get the juice they need to run right, which prevents their motors from burning out. It keeps you in line with safety codes, and here's the most important part. That voltage that gets lost, it doesn't just disappear. It turns into heat in the wire. So by controlling voltage drop, you are directly reducing a very real fire hazard inside your walls.
So, what are the things that are actually causing this drop? What are the ingredients in the recipe for losing voltage? Let's take a look at what's in the mix.
Two of the biggest players are the wire's size and what it's made of. It's just like our hose analogy. A bigger, fatter hose lets more water through easily. A thicker wire has less resistance. Now, it's a little weird with wire sizes because a smaller gauge number, like a #10 wire, is actually thicker than a #14 wire. The material also makes a huge difference. Copper is a fantastic conductor, so it has lower resistance than aluminum of the very same size.
So here are the 5 main culprits we're dealing with. We've got the material and the size. Then, of course, the length. The longer the wire, the more total resistance you're going to have. Temperature is a big one too. A hotter wire is a more resistive wire. And finally, the load itself. The more current, or amps, you try to pull through that wire, the bigger the voltage drop is going to be.
Okay, now that we know what's causing it, how can we actually predict it? This is where we get to put some real numbers on the table and see how to calculate voltage drop before you even run a single wire.
And here is our tool for the job. This is the formula for a standard single-phase circuit, which is what you'll find in most residential wiring. Now, I know it might look a little intense at first glance, but don't worry. We're going to break down what each of those letters means, and you'll see it's basically just a recipe using the factors we just talked about.
So first up is L. This one's easy. It's just the length of the wire run, one way from the breaker to the device you're powering, and we measure that in feet.
Next, we've got I. This stands for current, and it represents the load. It's how many amps your tool or appliance is actually going to draw from the circuit. You can usually find this number right on the nameplate of the device.
And last but not least, we have R for resistance. Now this one is a specific property of the wire itself. You don't guess this one, you look it up on a chart. It tells you how many ohms of resistance that exact type and size of wire has for every 1,000 feet of length.
All right, enough theory. Let's see how this thing actually works in the real world. We're going to take some common numbers, plug them into our formula, and see what happens. Let's do the math.
Okay, here's our scenario.
We're running power out to a workshop, and the run is 150 feet long. We know we need to power tools that draw up to 20 amps. We're thinking about using standard number 12 copper wire, and when we look that up, we find its resistance value. Our R is 1.98. So we plug all that into our formula. We multiply the top numbers, 2 times 150 times 20 times 1.98, that gives us 11,880. Then the last step is just to divide that by 1,000.
And there it is, 11.88 volts. We can expect to lose almost 12 volts by the time the power gets out to that workshop. On a 120-volt circuit, that's nearly a 10% drop. That is way, way over the 3% limit the NEC recommends. This calculation tells us with absolute certainty that number 12 wire is the wrong choice for this job. It's just not thick enough.
And that right there is the whole point. This isn't just about doing math for the sake of it. This little formula is an incredibly powerful tool. It lets you go from just guessing to knowing. It empowers you to pick the right size wire for the job from the very beginning, making sure the system you build is safe, it's efficient, and every single thing you plug into it gets the power it needs to work properly.
So now you really get the forces behind voltage drop. But remember that fifth factor we mentioned? Temperature. Turns out, those resistance values we look up in the charts aren't set in stone. They change when a wire heats up. And factoring that in, well, that's the next level of the game. But for now, you have absolutely mastered the most critical first step. Thanks for digging into this with me.